My name is Annalise Ophelian. I'm the director of Looking for Leia, and Chicago was my 4th celebration.
My name is Johnny Grasso. I am from Rogue One, a Star Wars podcast for winners.
Hi, I'm Alex.
And I'm Molly.
And we're from Star Wars Explained.
Hi, my name is Alyssa. I'm the art director on Looking for Leia.
My name is Jess, also known as Yoda Bauer, from Port Haven, the Star Wars Refuge.
Hi, I'm Catherine Neen from the Vax Geek Pod.
I'm the negotiator, also known as Omar.
My name's Josh Chapman, and my podcast is called Star Wars Spelt Out.
I am Claire Stribling. I am from the Chicagoland area, and I am a co-host of the Imperial Senate podcast.
I've been to 2 Star Wars celebrations.
And 2019 was our 2nd Star Wars celebration.
And this was my first celebration.
And 2019 was my first Star Wars celebration.
I've been to Celebration only once in my life, and that was this past month at Chicago Celebration 2019.
This was my first Star Wars celebration, the 2019 Chicago one.
And I've been to Celebration 1 time.
I went to the one in Orlando and recently in Chicago.
Star Wars Celebration Chicago was my 2nd celebration.
I had some expectations for Star Wars Celebration. Like so many fans, I had been watching the live streams.
Seeing a lot of the live stream and
I expected Celebration to be just as I imagined it and how I saw it in the videos prior.
So I knew how it worked to some degree. I knew that there was like a big thing every day.
I was expecting it to be big, but it was bigger than what I was expecting.
I don't really think I had all that many expectations other than the obvious ones, like we'll get a teaser for episode 9 and a title finally.
And then there'd be a lot of other small things, and I knew there was a convention floor and a Star Wars show stage.
Maybe I had expected to see a little bit of gameplay from the Fallen Order trailer.
Going into Chicago, I expected to see Mandalorian footage.
I guess I thought that we'd get an unofficially released trailer for The Mandalorian, and we kind of got that, but not really.
My expectations were high. I had high hopes.
I think there's so much to do there that your expectations can be held lightly. So there were a lot of things I was really hoping to see, but if I wasn't able to get into something or make it to something on time, I knew there'd be like 24 other things that I would be really, really happy to see.
I would say I was cautiously optimistic about what we were going to learn at Celebration.
I had a lot of expectations in terms of like big announcements and things. Obviously, we were hoping to learn about Episode 9. I had seen all of these panels over the course of watching the live stream, so I was expecting news, I was expecting surprises.
I also expected to see the Episode 9 title revealed, The Rise of Skywalker, as well as a teaser.
I knew that as far as the Star Wars stuff goes, my mind was going to be blown no matter what happened. It was just going to happen. There's too much news dropping.
I got all that. That's really all I expected.
Although I was concerned about stuff like waiting times and lotteries and overnight lines and things, I think that kind of worried me most, just because I kind of felt deep down I probably wasn't going to be able to hack it. And
I think because the last 2 celebrations have been essentially work trips for me, I have a different kind of expectation. Like my expectations and hopes have to do with who I'm going to connect with.
Even though I love going to nerd conventions and generally feel comfortable in that environment, I was thinking that Celebration would be different because I thought the fans would be more intense.
I didn't know what to expect in terms of the actual interpersonal connections with people there.
I expected to see some good friends, saw that as well. Expected to meet some new people, did that as well. Made some new friends.
But I was also kind of expected to be kind of the odd man out there, and I wasn't, and that was pretty fantastic.
I had some really great expectations too. I was expecting to be able to connect with a lot of my online people I follow and mutuals of mine that I had gotten connected with through Looking for Leia.
I figured I'd spend the time with the same amount of people and that I was expecting, and that'd be it.
Even though I was worried about maybe some more intense fans, I still was expecting to just have an amazing time.
And it would be great.
Just to be like entrenched in Star Wars.
yeah, they were probably the things I was expecting most. Fun, lines, and friends.
I got a bunch of Rogue One stickers made up and handed those out, and I expected to come home empty, and I did.
As to why I went to Celebration, for me personally, I just really like Space Wizards.
I wish I had a grand answer as to why I went to Star Wars Celebration, but I went because I always wanted to.
I went partially because I turned 40.
Well, the first time I went in Orlando, it was for the whole experience. I basically wanted to see the life-size TIE fighters, the life-size X-Wings.
Go see all of the exciting new things coming to Star Wars. It's irresistible.
All the shopping, the panels, the trailers, the exclusive toys.
I'd seen a lot of stuff about Celebration online, and I'd had a lot of friends who'd been before and sort of talked it up, I guess, so I was sort of curious to see if it sort of lived up to the hype, I think.
Because we went in 2017, and that was one of the most fun weekends I've ever had.
I always wanted to be in a place that exudes Star Wars, and the videos I always saw of Celebration were always just that.
Now that I'm on the podcast this time, I would be able to see these people that I've spent thousands of hours talking to.
I made a lot of friends over the internet through Star Wars.
I went to Star Wars Celebration Chicago this year with the explicit goal of getting B-roll footage for Looking for Leia. We're deep into post-production, our stories are all set, but there's just always more visual material that you need when you're making a film.
We're all scattered across the country, and so we could all like get together in one space and meet each other.
And finally get to meet some of them in person and spend time with them. And
so I was really stoked about that. Otherwise, I honestly probably wouldn't.
They've become some of my best friends, and other people in this fandom have also become some of my best friends.
I don't know if I could have gone on my own, but the great thing about the people I knew there was that you might have gone there on your own, but you weren't there on your own for very long.
I mean, it just seemed cool.
I wanted to be a part of it.
It seemed like the natural progression of what we were doing with our online community.
And just the reaction of, just the big electric buzz.
Of course, there's the news. I wanted to know about the episode 9. I wanted to see the trailer. I wanted to be in that crowd and feel that energy again.
In all of our previous con visits, I'd just not gotten enough Padme footage, and there were so many Padmes in Chicago.
I think, but I really wanted to meet new friends, experience it with old friends.
Then, when I was there, I met a lot of the people that I usually interact with online on Twitter, that listen to my podcast, Rogue One with a W.
It was mostly about the people, and I was very anxious about it, but I knew that I'd have my core group of people looking out for me.
And it meant more to me than just watching people in costumes walk by.
We just got to meet so many people, whether they be other content creators or people that we've just known on Twitter, like getting to see and talk to all of those people in person.
Yeah.
That is just, I don't know, there's an energy about it that you can't get anywhere else. So I was desperate to get back to that.
This would be a time for me to actually spend real quality time with them.
So I made it a personal goal to one day attend and experience Star Wars with my fellow Space Wizard lovers.
Before Celebration 2019, I was actually feeling pretty okay about the fandom because we went to Celebration 2017 in Orlando, and that was our first time being around all of that energy.
Overall, I didn't quite know what I was in for.
Knowing what the last one was like, I was just really pumped to go.
You know, people comparing their fandoms, you know, I was there in 77, so you can't really be a real fan.
I would be quizzed on things, and I would be expected to know every single detail about every planet and star system. And I know a lot about Star Wars lore because I've been in it my whole life, but I am not Wikipedia.
Before Star Wars Celebration, how did I feel about the fandom? Well,
I love Star Wars. I love the fandom for the most part.
For the most part, I absolutely love the fandom. It's a complete positive place.
But it was a really pleasant surprise to see so many people were just as chill or just enthusiastic.
You know, social media is this weird little microcosm of itself, and it doesn't really reflect the ways that people interact in person. I mean, thank God, right? I think it absolutely doesn't reflect the way we all connect with each other as people.
I think I was expecting that sort of fandom competition because of some of the experiences I'd had.
And just knowing what it's like to be around Star Wars fans in person made it easier to handle what was going on online.
I felt like I didn't really have the popular opinion of what was good in Star Wars and what was bad in Star Wars, and so I felt like I just didn't fit in with a lot of people.
I have to admit, I was a little bit cooling off on the Star Wars fandom.
Before Celebration, I honestly still had a pretty high opinion of the fandom. I know a lot of people were feeling really burned out or really tired of it. I really wasn't at all. It
Had been a really rough year for me. I went through a lot of personal and professional changes. My personal life was not in a very good place.
I had a lot of anxiety about going. I was really afraid that I wasn't going to be cool enough.
The greater Star Wars fandom and some of the very loud fans were just very overwhelming, and I kind of had the opinion that that's just how most fans were, and my group was just kind of a weird outlier.
Or I wasn't going to know enough.
People were just rough, and it got to me. It got me down. It made me less excited about Star Wars than I've ever been in my whole life, which sucks.
I don't know why I was afraid of being the odd person out. I guess I'm just so used to seeing everybody else online and seeing all they know. It's kind of an imposter syndrome thing, more than it was anything else. But I think that was not so much of a reflection of fandom or anything else, but just a reflection of me, if that makes sense.
I think in the lead up to Celebrations, Star Wars Twitter, TM, was... Star Wars Twitter can be tumultuous. Like online fandom, online anything can be tumultuous. People behave differently online than they do in person.
I knew of the trolls. I try to avoid the trolls.
And so there was some trepidation, right? And I think a concern that there was going to be conflict.
And of course there were going to be certain individuals adding on to the hate and even profiting off of the hate. Even at a positive place like Celebration.
But there are the trolls, so you just gotta be careful. You know, it's just like... It's like a nice highway. It's beautiful, you can cruise, but there are potholes here and there.
So, personally, I just really braced myself for that and sought out to ignore them and have a great time regardless.
I don't tend to get caught up in the negative sides of fandom. I tend to just ignore them or block them or mute them.
But when you go to Celebration, you see that there's a very vocal minority on the internet making a lot of
Noise.
Yeah, a lot of noise. And
I always felt that they were a vocal minority that didn't really affect my day too much. Only when they got involved with friends of mine that ruined their days that I ever really cared about them.
The trolls that are out there, they are out there, but they are in such a minority.
If anything, I was starting to get frustrated by how hungry we all were. You know, we didn't have a title, we didn't know anything about episode 9, we were bored. And because we were bored, we were turning on each other. So I wasn't so much tired of the negative side of fandom because I just stay away from it.
Some Star Wars fan groups, it can be a bit of, oh, I was there in 77, or I know more trivia than you, and I've read more EU books than you have, I'm a better fan than you.
You know, it feels a little bit hard sometimes with social media and YouTube and Twitter and all that. It feels kind of like the fan base can be very divided.
Getting into adulthood, it sort of stopped me expressing my fandom, but I shouldn't have let it stop me.
Yeah, you do your best. It's best not to interact with them because they always win.
I received a lot of harassment online, partially because I'm a woman. Shocker.
My first interaction with the fandom online was really anything but positive.
I didn't want to go out and introduce myself to new people and have this kind of fandom meet and greet because people had treated me so horribly.
And even though I've always loved it, I was kind of overwhelmed by the fandom.
And I say this, it had died down before Celebration. Mostly the talk online was just everybody being excited, but...
I feel like since day one of getting internet at my home as a kid, I've been defending my right to like Star Wars the way I do.
They're nameless, they're faceless, they know your real name, they know as much about you as you let on Twitter and any social media and the podcasts you do or not do.
I was very anxious about meeting new people because we're in a community of a lot of men and I didn't want to be treated like a piece of meat again. That's not cool. And Anyway,
I'd kind of had some bad experiences and run-ins from some very intense fans.
people like to sexually harass women online, and believe it or not, it happens. So I was pretty down on the Star Wars fan community because there were so many bright spots, and there are people that I can always count on that I met through this fandom, and those people I felt very solid on. But I was very reluctant to talk to anyone new or meet anyone new because it hadn't been going so well.
Especially being a female, a lot of times you have these barriers put up that, Star Wars isn't made for you. Well, sorry, Star Wars is for everyone.
I was really afraid that I wasn't going to be cool enough or I wasn't going to know enough. Like, this was for only the super hardcorest of hardcore fans, and I wasn't going to be hardcore enough. And that went away, not immediately, but really fast. Definitely by the end of the first day there, I started to figure out that that's just not what it was like.
So I was really happy to get there and to not feel unwelcome because I'm a female or because I haven't read every EU book.
Celebration itself had a big impact on me. Not only getting there, realizing that I wasn't this odd person out, that I could fit in with complete and total strangers that was amazing.
The thing that surprised me and affected me the most about Celebration was...
but just this sense that I really wasn't like that person that people just kind of put up with online.
Actually being at Celebration, I was not prepared for the amount of positivity and understanding that I felt with my fellow fans.
It affected me personally how many people genuinely cared how I was doing.
The enthusiasm, and that was just so much fun to be around.
I suppose I had this little dream of wouldn't it be great if we got to hang out with these people and got to hang out with these people and we all got along and had a great time.
Some really good friends that I can talk Star Wars to almost any time now.
Like, I met other people that I only knew through the internet that I had a lot of respect for, I still have a lot of respect for, and they knew who I was. Like, that sounds so corny and it sounds so, middle school pathetic, but people knew me.
We started filming Looking for Leia at Celebration in 2017 in Orlando, and between Orlando and Chicago, I'd been on the road for 14 months talking with women and with non-binary fans all over the country. So going into Chicago, I felt more connected with the fandom than I had at any previous celebration.
How many people knew who I was, which was weird. In 2017, I wasn't on the podcast yet.
Personally, that sort of just went as absolute as well as I could have hoped for, even more so. I think it just hit off straight away. Everybody was just exactly how I thought they would be, the camaraderie.
I think 3 listeners came up with their children, and their children even knew the podcast. I even got a yo out of a little dude, and it was awesome.
And that was amazing. I had people come up and be like, hey, yeah, I've seen your stuff, and that's really cool. And it sounds so self-serving to say that felt good, but that felt good.
And it was amazing walking around in Chicago, having folks actually recognize us and recognize the project. That was the best feeling, just knowing that folks were that interested in the story that we've been working on and that the word was out.
We did cover all the news and stuff that, came out of Celebration.
So I've worked on the Looking for Leia team for about 2 years at this point.
But we spent all of the rest of our time trying to meet and see as many people as we possibly could because we knew a lot of people that were going to be there, and we had a blast.
Incredible to be in that. It was the safe, joyful, uplifting community that I had found through that project online, and it was totally come to life and realized.
It gave me a motivation I hadn't had before to keep making content for the channel. I got to interact with somebody that's seen what we do, and that was incredible.
So I went to Chicago expecting that there would be a real positive energy in the space. And that was met and exceeded tenfold.
Getting over there and people saying, we're really excited to meet you, Catherine. And people enjoying my reactions to seeing the trailer and to being a part of it because I kind of wear my emotions on the sleeve.
You know, people want to share their first time. They want to talk about their favorite characters. They want to talk about why their fandom is important to them and what role it's played in their lives. And that's just so touching and amazing.
So it really affected me personally that so many people listen to Rogue One, and not just, you know, the adults, but like children, which makes me want to curse a lot less on my podcast.
The biggest personal effect I felt at Celebration was just like being overwhelmed almost with our fans. Like, we had a couple of meetups and we were expecting kind of like a few people to show up and we'd have a casual conversation, and we were not prepared for the amount of people that wanted to say hello.
I don't often go out and introduce myself unless I know we've interacted before, but there were so many people that came up to me.
Everyone at Celebration was like so incredibly friendly. Like every single person was incredibly friendly.
It was hard not to get giddy over finally being able to have these conversations on Star Wars with someone who you've had countless conversations on Star Wars with.
And I was so excited to meet so many other positive people, so generous and full of love and enthusiasm for this thing that I don't have anybody in my immediate vicinity other than my boyfriend Steve, who is obsessed with Star Wars like I am.
Meeting people who really appreciated my enthusiasm and my enjoyment.
There was a person who once told me that Rogue One really helped him and his son kind of connect. He was an older, like a teenager, but that meant a lot.
Told me they listened to the show and that they appreciate what we've done at the Imperial Senate podcast, and that they appreciate me and think I'm a positive light, which, hey, I mean, if you think that.
I wish we had had twice the amount of time to like actually talk to all of the people that stopped us.
People were handing out swag everywhere, which was crazy. I didn't know that like just handing out swag to like every single person there was a normal thing, but it was. So like we would hand out stuff and other people would hand out stuff, and it was just like this huge joyful like gift giving experience, and just like
hear about how our silly little videos make people's days.
Yeah, hearing that like we have encouraged people to start reading the comics or the books, or if they don't have time to read that, like they still feel like they're able to keep up with the whole of Star Wars. Like, that feels great to know that we're helping people enjoy their fandom more.
Yeah.
Everything we said was sort of prefaced with this is my Star Wars, so my feeling is, and there was room for everyone to have their differences.
I was in line several times with people I was able to talk to and have perfectly fine conversations with. Sometimes we even disagreed on things, but we found common grounds where we did agree and conversed on that instead.
Everyone had their faves, no one yucked anyone's yum. We were all just kind of there to talk about the stuff that we loved, and that doesn't happen online nearly as often, or I think the things that are hostile or negative feel more amplified.
So basically meeting the listeners and their kids, especially because I'm a teacher, I love kids, that really affected me. And it means that doing this podcast is just more than, you know, making people laugh, but really like connecting.
And the social aspect of fandom is huge. Just being able to connect with and talk with that many other fans is like an event unto itself. Like I without any programming whatsoever. In Orlando, I didn't go to a single panel. I was just filming the whole time. And it was a great celebration. And I felt like I'd really had the experience just from going there and connecting with other fans.
Just face to face.
And then just to see what fandom can be like when we're together.
Making these like face-to-face connections with people.
I try to keep my chin up, no matter how negative this has been so far.
I personally feel there's just so much more to the fandom than the social media, YouTube comments, Twitter. It's all such a narrow scope of fandom.
You know, often when you're participating in fandom, it's just a bunch of faceless people or beings behind a computer screen or behind a keyboard.
Online fandom is amazing, and it creates access that would be barred to huge numbers of groups. The in-person fandom creates a different level, another level of connection that I think is really important.
I know that when we're in person, surrounded by fans, like it's just nothing but good energy.
And to be surrounded by so many people that understand me and are so positive and kind.
And just to like get all excited and like hug each other and just to make that connection and meet each other for the first time, that's super incredible.
I feel closer to these people that I've known before, and now I have so many new people that I know have my back.
And it gave me amazing confidence when I was there, and it's something that I wish that I had every day.
You know, the people talk about the magic of celebration and kind of go, oh, this amazing thing happened, and that was the magic of celebration, or I got this thing, but a lot of the magic of it was the people that you met and the people who did things for you to make that magic happen.
There are trolls still. The trolls didn't go away. I am learning to deal with them better.
Not even just the face-to-face aspect, but the face-to-face aspect where we're all on vacation was so completely different.
You know, in person, they're not as tough as they are online. Oddly enough, huh?
The haters are the minority.
It was just a positivity bubble that I don't know where I could find anywhere else.
I think all of us could have stayed there for 10 and just kept going. The stamina of Star Wars fans is really amazing and intense.
The willingness to help out and to make sure that everybody had a great time. And if you were having a better time than somebody, you do your best to make sure somebody else was having a great time as well.
It's really easy to just say, well, it's Celebration that's special, but it's really the fandom that's special, and it's really the people who are special. And those same people that were at Celebration are everywhere else. You know, we all exist somewhere on Earth.
How do I feel about the fandom?
And just to be around each other when we're all having a good time, it really showed me what fandom could be like if we really wanted it to be.
So I feel closer to the fandom, meeting the families, but all in all the same. It's just still positive.
I feel like the fandom in general is just so hyped up, so excited. We've got so much to look forward to this year.
I've been rejuvenated. I feel excited. I have things to look forward to. I have people that I love.
You know, haters are gonna hate, as they say, but it didn't seem like that was the place for it. I mean, they might all scurry back off to their caves somewhere and have their opinions and say that the fandom's dead or it's dying, but it looks stronger than it's ever been, you know, and for the better.
I mean, and this might sound like stupidly obvious to most people, but it was not at all obvious to me. But Celebration is not just a celebration of Star Wars itself. Celebration is a celebration of the fans.
And it was just a fabulous experience to be surrounded by that many people.
We stood together as fans, and positivity and just general nice human interaction outshined the negativity.
You know, I feel like positivity isn't really defined, but positivity isn't just liking a thing.
The amount of young people and fans and stuff like that was really heartening. Like, give me a young kid in a Rey costume any day over some old dude whinging in a line about how things aren't as good as they used to be.
Positivity is how you engage with other people.
Such a breath of fresh air, like this reminder of how we are in fandom when we're all just with each other and not behind a keyboard was assuring.
Positivity to me is engaging with people in a way that builds bonds.
Don't be scared about your Star Wars fandom. That the vast majority of people are just there for the enjoyment.
I think the best indicator of it was the amount of con drop that folks had when we came home from Celebration. I feel like my social media feeds were just filled with people trying to process being home from Chicago for days after Celebration. Like, it was so wonderful to just be there and to be there for so long. For those of us that stayed the full 5 days, that reacclimating to real life afterwards was not the most fun.
Nobody else quite gets it.
Having such an amazing couple of days and then going back to our normal lives, it's
It is a bit of a letdown getting back to real life.
I feel like I love Star Wars even more.
I'll honestly never forget my time spent there.
I'm deeply depressed that it's over.
Yeah, honestly.
I'm so glad that I was given the opportunity to be able to go and I can make it this year.
There's a definite post-con depression.
I definitely want to go back.
as soon as I left Chicago, I was ready to go to another celebration. So I'm gearing up. I'm ready.
I couldn't be happier.
It's really hard to explain the significance of a life-changing experience. It really is, to someone who wasn't there and didn't experience it like you did.
Being amongst people who enjoy things, the same things you do, is a big deal. And to get back home and people not understand the significance of the words, roll it again, it was a bit of a bummer.
And I guess Celebration makes me wish I could just scream to the fandom that we could always be like this, and we don't have to have an excuse of a convention to be that way.
To be surrounded with so many people with so much love and enthusiasm and positivity to spread, it's gonna be so much easier not to listen to the haters, you know? So yeah, that's what I'm taking away, is that this fandom is so full of joy, and I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do a much better job now reminding myself that those people are not the majority. Their voices shouldn't affect me like they have before. And Star Wars is about love and about hope, and that's what I'm gonna take away from this celebration, is my renewed sense of hope in this fandom and in this community. So.
And, you know, I wasn't terribly worried about that at Celebration. And Judah?
Sorry,
Oh.
let's start it again just because of the tram.
Oh, we're in Melbourne. There's trams everywhere. We're keeping it real.
Alright, gotta fix my camera here real quick.
I expected Celebration to be just as I imagined, and
It came through. It came through big time.
fellow creators,
That's great.
Because the Force is fake, but the guns are real. Feel me? Sorry. I have to be on brand, right?
I wasn't.
Lola,